So what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Um, I bring you today a little. I think this is like a challenge or something like that, but it's the redraw challenge or something. I'm pretty sure it goes by more than one name, but I don't know who originally made this up. But basically, just take something that you painted or drew a couple days, well, I guess it could be a couple days ago, but a while ago, and then you just repaint it, redraw it to see how your style has changed or just how much you've improved. And I've doing a redraw of a redraw. So the original painting for this was done in 2015, I think, and then I repainted it in 2016. So only a year apart then, and then I repainted it now in 2020. So it's actually been 4 years since I painted it the second time, and 5 years since I've painted it the first time. Uh, the first time I painted this, it was the first time I ever did any digital art. I did it on Sketchbook Pro, I think, and I had been drawing this drawing basically with pencil on notebook paper over and over, and I was like, I guess I was really in love with it or something. Like, wow, what a concept, like an elf with butterflies. Wow, who would have thought, right? Um, Even though that's pretty fucking generic. But you're a middle school kid, your ideas, everything's fresh, you're so unique enough. So I decided, hey, let's try this out on digital. So I basically, what I did was I drew it with like the sketchbook pencil brush. So I basically just redrew it on digital as I would on paper. And then because there was this whole new ability of like layers, I was like, oh well, I can even add color to it. So then I add color to it, and if I can find it, I'll put up what it looked like in pencil. And I mean, what can I say? I was like 13 or something like that when I drew this, and then I drew it a year later after really getting into digital art. So actually, this kind of answers the question. A lot of people ask me like, how long have I been drawing? And while obviously I could say my whole life, I've been drawing my whole life, because that's technically true. I have been drawing my whole life. But I think what they kind of mean when they ask that is, like, when did I really like decide, hey, I'm gonna actually like invest into this with my time and try to get better at it and that kind of thing. I wanted to do like splash arts and that kind of thing. So I was like, oh well, I better learn how to do digital art. So I asked my parents for a tablet, and they got it for me for Christmas. It was a Wacom Intuos medium, size medium, I believe. And then I got it, and I painted. So I did the original of this, the butterfly girl, elf, and I was like, cool, what, how fun. And then I don't think I touched my tablet for like months, and I felt so guilty because I was like, I'm supposed to be doing digital, like I didn't touch my tablet. I felt so fucking guilty that I hadn't been using it, and eventually I started to get back into it. And so I think it was still 2015, 2016, but basically that's when I started. So it's been about 4 years since I've started taking digital art and art in general seriously, because I think when I got into digital art, it's when I really got into art. Like I wanted to improve. I started doing like I wanted to do studies and things like that. And then I found Istabrack, and that just exploded my interest in wanting to improve and kind of like the industry in general and that kind of mindset, I guess. And now I'm here. I've just been working on art, I guess, here and there. Anyways, now actually, let me talk about the piece. And um, I'm looking currently at the 2016 one because I don't really have much to say about the hideous 2015 one because, well, we all know it's hideous. There's not much to say about it. I just kind of, well, actually, you know what? I still remember my mentality, I guess, or like my thought process of what I wanted sort of like this painting or like this drawing to look like. And I wanted it to look like there was like butterflies almost morphing out of her hair or like coming out of her hair. She was supposed to be like completely surrounded by butterflies, but I did like 4 or 5. So, you know, when you're not very good, it's kind of hard to get your ideas across. And so that's what I was going for then. But I think the next year when I painted it in 2016, I kind of just decided like, oh, it'll just be a pretty girl with pretty girl that's an elf, and she'll just have butterflies like in her hair and on her or whatever. So I'm just gonna talk about the 2016 one now. It's funny because at the time, sure, this was an improvement from 2015, the first one, but now looking at it, I mean, how to make this video without just completely dog piling shit on this fucking piece? Because, goddamn, like, it is so bad. It's just there's so many things that I don't like. Like, for one, the anatomy, I guess, like the shape of her head, the way I painted the eyes, the lips, and everything. It's just, it bothers me so much. And then the way I used color, I mean, I could really tell that I didn't know what the fuck. I can tell now that I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing with color. I'm just looking at the older painting right now, and you can tell that I've never really worked with color or anything, because
I did it again.
Which is fair. Color can be really tricky, and I was just starting to use color because at the time I had only used traditional. Really, when I was working on traditional, I did pencil, so black and white constantly. Didn't really do color, so color was pretty new to me. And I remember thinking like, wow, these butterflies look so amazing when I first did this piece. I was like, wow, they're so colorful. They look almost realistic. They look so smudgy and dirty, and I don't know, the shapes of them are terrible and they just look awful, which is funny because I simplified them a lot in the 2021, the one that I'm painting now. I've simplified them a lot. I basically didn't even, like, in the original one and this one, I actually gave them like species, I guess. Like one of them's a monarch butterfly, then the other ones I don't know what they're called, but I did search up like butterflies and then just use them as references. So I did have like different species, but that one I basically, and I think with the new one I was like, you know what, fuck it, I don't, this like stupid little butterfly thing, it looks whack. And honestly, the color harmony, like, I felt like if I try to put a monarch butterfly, it would take some finessing to get the colors. Like if I wanted to do different colored butterflies, it would take some finessing to get the colors to kind of look nice together. I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard, but honestly, I didn't want to put the work into that, and I wanted to focus mostly on the girl, not so much the butterflies, which is interesting because I feel like in the beginning the butterflies were kind of more important, but that changed. Another thing that I really dislike is the hair. Tell me why the fuck it looks like that pasta. I don't know what it's called, but it's like the thick spaghetti noodles. They're not spaghetti noodles, but they're like long rectangles. That's what it looks like to me, and it looks so bad. What the fuck? I mean, it's really lacking in form, and like the colors are pretty bad. I'm sure the values are pretty bad. If I made it black and white, I'm sure it would be a lot more obvious. My shadows are all fucking nowhere to be seen, and also extremely strange. Like the ones underneath the top of her hair there. So let's forget about this garbage. Well, not really. Let's keep it in mind. And now let me talk about this piece that I'm doing right now. So right away, my intentions with this piece were just sort of paint an elf girl with butterflies, use the same kind of colors, I suppose, like still give her the blonde hair, the butterflies, and the fact that she's an elf. Those were basically the 3 criteria. And I was like, you know what, let's fucking amp this shit up. Like, let's take it to another level. Let's add some body, because at the time when I drew the one before this one, 2016 version, I did not draw bodies. I was basically, the only thing I ever drew was faces, and not very good ones, but that's all I ever really drew. And so now that I had, I guess, the skills to draw a body, I was like, let's implement that. Let's show that I've kind of gained those skills, because I mean, this little challenge thing is all about just kind of showing how much you've improved. So I wanted to do that. And then yeah, so I took a picture for a reference, and I also referenced an image from Pinterest, I think, both of them for the girl in the pose. I kind of struggle using my face, like face pose, with for references because, especially since I mostly draw girls, like if I use my face, they'll end up uglier because they look manlier, or maybe it's just because I don't know. Something else, another goal, I guess, of this piece was to use I wanted the mood of the piece to be very soft, um, like very calm, serene, you know. Uh, so I actually, because of this, I used a shit ton of airbrush. A shit ton of airbrush, and we all know what happens when you use a shit ton of airbrush. You have no edges, and edges are so important. Trust me, you don't want to be using airbrush unless, here's a tip, you combine it with lasso tool. So airbrush, we all know, it's really soft, so all your edges blend together, so you really don't have any hard edges or anything like that. So if you want to use airbrush and still have edges, and maintain like edge control and that kind of thing, you can do two things. You can use layers in several different ways. You can use layers to erase, so you paint over and then you just erase to create an edge, or you can obviously like use, what is it called, the thing that locks the thing that locks, you know what I'm talking about. If you paint, you know. So that thing, or you can use lasso tool, which is what I like to use because I don't know why, but I hate using layers. I hate having to like, where the fuck is my layer? And like go looking for them, and I hate setting them up, and I hate creating masks. It takes so much time. You know, I wanted it to kind of remind you of the old one, reminisce. You know, bring back the good old times where you were shit at painting. So I still kind of kept the orangey skin, and then I still kept the purples. I just put them in different places, and I didn't mix them as much. So there's not really any purple in the hair or anything like that. But the purple's still there, the orange is still there, and then the silver hair is still there, like the white blondish silver hair is still there. Something else is when you might be able to tell, but as I was painting this, I kind of felt like the colors were off. Like this shit's not hitting the mood. And same thing with the face. I actually painted the face. I don't know if I cut out how many times I repainted the face, but I repainted the face like 3 times, I think. Luckily, I wasn't very far along with it or anything, but I repainted it about a couple of times because, the mood wasn't hitting. When you have a certain mood in mind and it doesn't really come out, maybe it could be your colors, it could be your values, or it could just be the way that you drew whatever it was. And I didn't like that she looked so harsh because, as I said, I wanted it to be very soft. So I wanted I didn't want the eyebrows to be like on fleek, fucking arched as fuck or anything like that. I didn't want any heavy expressions. I just wanted kind of a soft look. So I repainted the face a couple of times. And something else was my colors were a little desaturated and like on the cooler side, I guess. And I wanted it to be warmer and more saturated to give that kind of bright, calm, happy look. Like I wanted it to be calm, but I wanted it to be like inner peace calm, like you're happy. So I wanted it to be bright. I wanted it to be warm and inviting. So I did use the hue shifter and the curves, the color curves. What are they called? Not the color curves. The contrast curves. I use the contrast curves to sort of switch it up early on. I guess I should address this because kind of the clownery of me saying, hey, I'm back on Krita, and then, I'm here on Photoshop again. So let me explain, because I'm a lying ass motherfucker, and to be honest, I be lying on this shit all the time on my channel. Because I'll be saying like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I don't do it. And then, oh, hey guys, it's been a while, I'm gonna keep making videos, and then I don't do it. So nothing new. But yeah, so I use Photoshop for this, and I'll probably continue to use Photoshop unless, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people like when I use Krita, which I totally understand because that's basically like my origins. But basically the reason I stopped using Photoshop is because a broke ass bitch couldn't afford it, and then I found out that my university actually allows you to use. So while you're attending my university, you can use Adobe products for free. So I was like, well, there's no reason not to use it now. Yeah, so I kind of just went back to Photoshop. I apologize. If anybody really wants me to use Krita, I honestly don't mind using Krita. It's a great software. It's still a really good software, to be honest. I think the only reason I use Photoshop is because I'm a weak ass bitch and I got influenced by, like, you know, that stigma of like, oh, you have to use Photoshop, it's the best. I think that kind of gets to me, so I'm like, yeah, you're right, I need to use Photoshop, and I use Photoshop. So yes, here I am on Photoshop. I apologize for being lying to everyone. That's all. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody's Thanksgiving was great, and if you're not American and you didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, I just hope these last couple of weeks have been great. And yes, I wish you guys the best. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.